This next fight, though, the next fight here, like I had a hard time with this one as well.
I think this one was a little easier for me to pick, to be honest.
For me, it wasn't, but I'll tell you a little bit about why. The next fight is Nasrat Haqparast versus Alex Munoz at 155 pounds. Nasrat, he's from Germany. He's 11-3 overall. He's 24 years old. Another young guy coming into the UFC. He's 5 feet 10 inches tall. He's 3-2 in the UFC, and he's coming off of a first-round knockout loss to Drew Dober. But he does have significant wins over Mark DeCasey and Joaquim Silva. He beat DeCasey by decision, and he knocked out Joaquim Silva. He's going against Alex Munoz. Alex Munoz is an American, 6-0. So on the experience factor, this is part of the issue that I ran into with this fight. He's only 6-0. He's 30 years old. He's 5 feet 9 inches tall, and he's making his official UFC debut. But he did compete on Dana White's Contender Series, and he beat Nick Newell by decision.
One-handed Nick Newell.
Guys? Yeah, one-handed Nick Newell. But I don't take anything away from that because one-handed Nick Newell was able to beat the hell out of a lot of people.
Alex Munoz, he is a team alpha male guy, so he's got some really good training partners and a good coach in Uriah Faber.
And not to mention, not only is he a team alpha male guy where they're known for being wrestlers, he's kind of a top dog in that area. He is the wrestling coach at Team Alpha Male. So, he has that, when you talk about that grappling, that wrestling, if you're good enough to be the coach of all those guys that are really good wrestlers, you got some wrestling credentials.
Yeah. And then, but when I look at it, we're looking at his record. He's not an active fighter by any means. He fought one time in 2019, one time in 2018, skipped all of 2017, and fought, twice in 2016? And then twice in 2015. So, I mean,
he wasn't even really planning on getting into MMA, though. So he was brought in to be a training partner for somebody else who had a fight coming up. And he was brought in as a training partner, and somehow that transitioned him into actually becoming a fighter. And it was actually, I want to say it was Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks brought him in because him and Johnny Hendricks wrestled on the same team together at Oklahoma State. He wrestled at Oklahoma State. He was wrestled at Oklahoma State at 165 pounds. So he was brought in for Johnny Hendricks to help him out because they were buddies. But he does have that transitioned him into MMA. But for being such an unexperienced guy, like, you got to think about all the stuff he's already done. He's the former Trinity Kings 155-pound champion right out the gate already. Former Cuff champion, right out of the gate. So, like, he's already got a couple of championships under his belt, even though he's 6-0. He has 3 decision wins, so 3 of his fights have come by decision. He has 2 knockouts, and he has 1 submission. But when you look over at Nasrat's not looking to submit anybody.
No.
Nasrat's looking to knock you out with the 9 knockouts that he has, and he has 2 decisions. So of his 11 wins, he's put 9 people out cold. Or he's got the W with strikes.
Yeah, he was knocking dudes out cold before he got into the UFC.
Yeah.
He's only finished 1 fight in the UFC.
Yep.
But
he was killing people beforehand.
Yeah, he was killing dudes. And when you watch his striking, you'll see why. He has some very pretty
Wicked
striking. The only thing that, I guess I would take away from him is he does get taken down, which is going to be in, obviously, Munoz's strength.
Yes.
But if you watch the Marcin Held fight, every single time he got taken down, he was able to get right back up. So, I mean, we're going to see if he's able to do that again. But for me, I think that, just the competing more often, being in the cage and fighting, there's just that experience that you get when you're actually doing it a lot versus someone who's not doing it a lot. So I think that's going to play a little bit into this. And I think for me, you're going to see Nasrat win this one. Whew, another one we're opposite?
Yeah,
buddy. Another one we're opposite. But, But I think he's going to win it with a second-round knockout.
So here's where I run into a difference there. You talked about how good Newell was with his strike, or not with his striking, but with his grappling. He's pretty good with his grappling.
It's pretty good.
Now, if you look what happened when they fought, Alex Munoz out-grappled him the entire fight.
I would expect him to, though. I would expect a lot of two-handed grapplers that are well-versed in grappling to beat another guy with only one hand in grappling.
You can't say that though. You can't assume, because if you look at what Newell's done as a fighter, Nick Newell's no slouch. You got by knockout round 2, and I have Munoz to win by decision. I think he takes him down. I think he grinds him out.
You ain't gonna be able to keep him down. I'm telling you.
Well, we'll find out.
There's a difference. Find out.
American wrestling is different than international wrestling. The one thing that American wrestling has the advantage of, and this is why a lot of our American wrestlers have been so good at dominating with the ground and pound, is American wrestling is all about control on the ground. So I think he's going to have the ability to control him on the ground. We'll find out, though. The biggest thing that you do run into is the 6-0. You know, it's not a ton of experience versus a guy who's got almost 15 fights.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference. But you also have to take into consideration the same thing that Joe Rogan talks about all the time with guys having a lifetime of competition with wrestling and grinding and that type of practice and stuff. So that is combat competition, not